Hello students of class 7. In the last class we had started with a new topic in history, that is the Delhi Sultanate. And in this topic we learned that this Delhi Sultanate consists of the 5 dynasties. Now what is Delhi Sultanate? I told you the Delhi Sultanate refers to all the Muslim dynasties that ruled from 1206 to 1526. And it comprises of the 5 dynasties, namely the Slave Dynasty, the Khilji Dynasty, the Tughlaq Dynasty, the Sayyid Dynasty and the Lodi Dynasty. In the last video, we learnt about the Slave Dynasty, and the most powerful rulers of the Slave Dynasty were Qutbuddin Aibak, Iltutmish, Razia Sultan and Ghiyasuddin Balban. Now in this video we are going to learn about the second dynasty, that is the Khilji Dynasty. Now the most important rulers of the Khilji Dynasty was Jalaluddin Khilji and Alauddin Khilji. Now what happened was, after the death of Ghiyasuddin Balban in the year 1286, there was complete chaos in the court, and all the nobles started competing with each other. Now, taking opportunity of this situation, one of his noble, that is Jalaluddin Khilji, captured the throne and laid the foundation of the next dynasty, that is the Khilji Dynasty. So the first Sultan of the Khilji Dynasty was Jalaluddin Khilji. Jalaluddin Khilji ruled from 1290 to 1296. Jalaluddin Khilji was quite old. He was an elderly man of around 70 years old. He was very mild and very pious man. He also compromised with the rebellious nobles by forgiving them for their revolts. So there was complete peace in his kingdom. He maintained that peace. He did not capture, more places or more areas. He only ruled the kingdom that was handed over to him by the previous dynasty. He could not rule for many years. He ruled only for 6 years, because then his nephew Alauddin Khilji conspired against him. Alauddin Khilji was his nephew. Later, he also became his son-in-law. He bribed the nobles to bring them in his support, and these nobles, they killed Jalaluddin Khilji, and Alauddin Khilji overtook the empire. So the next ruler or the Sultan of Delhi Sultanate in the Khilji Dynasty was Alauddin Khilji, who was the only powerful ruler of the Khilji Dynasty, only powerful Sultan of the Khilji Dynasty. He was a very ambitious ruler. He dreamt of becoming the second Alexander. He dreamt of having a vast empire. Now students, if you recall in class 6, you have learnt about King Alexander, who was also known as Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great was a king of ancient Greek kingdom Macedonia. He also conquered places in India, and you have learnt about the vast empire of King Alexander. So Alauddin Khilji dreamt of becoming like Alexander, second Alexander, having a vast empire like Alexander. So he also started his expeditions. His first expedition was against Gujarat. He conquered Gujarat in the year 1297. After he captured Gujarat, he captured Malwa in the year 1297. After capturing Malwa, he bought a slave from there whose name was Malik Kafur. This slave then helped him in his further conquest. Then he went to Rajasthan and captured the fort of Ranthambor in the year 1301. After capturing the fort at Ranthambor, he captured the fort of Chittor. Now the capture of Chittor is a very famous story in the history of the Khilji Dynasty. Chittor was the capital of Mewar, ruled by the Rajputs. So when Alauddin Khilji invaded Chittor, the king, Raja Rana Ratan Singh, who was a Rajput, he fought very bravely, but he lost the battle. So it is said that his beautiful queen, Rani Padmini, also known as Queen Padmavati, performed Johar. Now what is Johar? Johar is a sacrifice. It is like committing suicide, a voluntary death. And this the women folk, along with Rani Padmini, sacrificed themselves, committed mass suicide by jumping into the fire. So after the death of Rana Ratan Singh, who was killed by Alauddin Khilji, Rani Padmini performed Johar. Why was this done? This was basically done to avoid or to escape the ill treatment or insults by the ruler who has captured their empire. So when Alauddin Khilji captured the Chittor, the capital of Mewar, Rani Padmini performed Johar. That is why this capture, the conquest of Chittor, is very famous in the history of Alauddin Khilji or in the Khilji dynasty. Now let us see the empire of Alauddin Khilji. What you see here, shaded, okay, this brightened area is the kingdom of Alauddin Khilji. This is Delhi, which is the seat of the Sultanate. Then you have the other places that was conquered by Alauddin Khilji. You have Gujarat here, you have Ranthambor, you have Chittor, and you have Malwa. So after they captured these places, he sent his slave Malik Kafur to capture the Deccan areas. So what you see here in this color, pink, is the march of Malik Kafur. Now this slave Malik Kafur, he went to the Deccan areas, defeating the South Indian rulers and succeeded in capturing Deccan. So Alauddin Khilji was the first ruler to defeat the South Indian rulers and capture Deccan. So after they plundered Deccan, they got a lot of wealth, which then he used for his administration and for his military purpose. Let us learn about his administration. Alauddin Khilji was also a very good, very able administrator. He wanted a lot of money to maintain a big army. So he levied two types of taxes. One was the house tax and grazing tax. The house tax was laid on the houses, the residences, which was known as Ghar. And the grazing tax, known as Charai, was levied on the grazing land. Now the farmers who had the cows or the other animals which produced milk was given an area, a portion, a grassland to graze their cattle. So he levied tax on this grass land that was known as the grazing tax. And even the land which was fertile, the tax was collected on those lands based on the fertility of the soil. So he collected money by the two types of tax, that is the house tax and the grazing tax. He also reduced the salary of the soldiers to employ more men in his army, because he wanted to build a large military. He wanted to have a big military, because in those times there was a lot of attack from the Mongols. Mongol rulers kept on invading or attacking his dynasty, his empire. So he needed to maintain a very good army. Alauddin Khilji is said to be having a very good or permanent standing army. Secondly, he also initiated price control mechanism or market reforms, what is called. This price control by fixing the prices. So the prices of the food grains, the horses, the other items, even the slaves, was fixed by the ruler, by the Sultan. Let us now learn about his military reforms. It is said that he had a very large army, around 5 lakhs soldiers. He himself recruited the soldiers with the help of the army minister, and he also paid them in cash. So these soldiers that he had were highly trained. He introduced something known as Huliya and Dagh, introduced a descriptive role of soldiers. So when he recruited these soldiers, what did he do? He tried to keep a track or maintain a record of these soldiers. So the entire description of each soldier was written down in the book, and this was kept as a record. And secondly, branding of horses, which was known as Dagh or mark. Okay, so what he would do is he would make a mark on the horse with the help of a hot iron rod. Okay, that was known as the branding of horses. Now, why do you think this was done, branding of horses and Huliya, or maintaining the record or the description of the soldiers? This was because these horses or the soldiers will not be duplicated in the times of the wars. Now, when we would go to fight in the battle, we would remain there for many days and for many months. And sometimes these other rulers would exchange these horses and soldiers for these good or the better horses. But that is why he introduced this system of branding of horses and Huliya, a descriptive rule. He also introduced postal system, okay, known as Dak Chauki. He introduced this so that he can keep people informed or have a contact with the soldiers, with the nobles, when he would be outside of the town or outside of his empire, or when he would go to fight battles. So this was his main contribution, that is Huliya, Dagh and Dak Chauki. Another contribution of Alauddin Khilji was that he built the Siri fort at New Delhi and Alai Darwaza also in Delhi. This Alai Darwaza is very close to Qutub Minar. It is near Qutub Minar. This is Qutub Minar, which the construction of which was started by Qutubuddin Aibak, who belonged to the slave dynasty, and it was completed by the later rulers or sultans of the slave dynasty. This Alai Darwaza was like a gateway to the Quwwatul Islam mosque, which was also built by the sultans of the slave dynasty. They said this Quwwatul Islam mosque has 4 gateways. This was the southern gateway to the Quwwatul Islam mosque, which was built by Alauddin Khilji. Now, the later rulers after Alauddin Khilji were very weak. The last ruler of the Khilji dynasty was Khosrow Khan, who was killed by his general Ghazi Malik. This Ghazi Malik was the general who laid the foundation of the new dynasty, that is the Tughlaq dynasty, who was later known as Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq laid the foundation of the Tughlaq dynasty after killing the last ruler of the Khilji dynasty. So in today's class we have learned about the second dynasty of the Delhi Sultanate, that is the Khilji dynasty. In the next video we are going to learn about the third dynasty of the Delhi Sultanate, that is the Tughlaq dynasty. Thank you.